Hello everyone, my name is Ben, and these are my top 10 films of 2017. Before we get into the top 10 though, we're going to go through some honourable mentions, specifically first La La Land and Jackie, which came out in 2016, but they came out in 2017 here in the UK. So they don't make it onto the list for that reason, but if they were 2017 films, they definitely would, because they are both fantastic. Then for some honourable mentions that we've got actually from 2017, we've got Split. M. Night Shyamalan did a shockingly good job, mainly carried because of James McAvoy's incredible performance, but solid movie, deserves a shout out. Dunkirk, very well made movie, as you'd expect from Christopher Nolan, well shot, well directed, great soundtrack from Hans Zimmer as well. And shockingly good performance as well from Harry Styles, which who knew he could act as well. But it didn't really stick with me too much after. I think it was a great experience while I was watching it. It was super intense and it was interestingly made, but it wasn't really mind-blowing and didn't stick with me. Then we've got A Ghost Story, which would be on this list if I got it more. But I don't. I thought it was a beautifully made film. The shots, the score as well, especially that one song, which if you've seen the film you know that one song is gorgeous, and it's a very interesting and intriguing film about death primarily, and it just kind of lost me in the last third of it. So that's more me than the film, so watch it. If you're into like avant-garde, weirder films, then you'll probably like it. Then we have Wind River with a fantastic performance from Jeremy Renner. Really happy to see him get more roles like this, because I do think he's a great actor and he deserves more kind of starring roles. And this is the best that I've seen him, even better than Arrival, actually. Really, really solid, well put together film. Nothing incredible or mind-blowing about it, but just really solidly made film. And another honourable mention has to go to The Last Jedi. I was one of the people who really liked The Last Jedi. I think it's a great film. There are parts that I don't like about it. I have a 52-minute video talking all about it. You can go watch that if you really want to hear my detailed thoughts on it. And even though it's called Defending The Last Jedi, I do still critique it in the same video, which really shows how, yes, it does have flaws, but overall I enjoyed it so much more than any of those flaws could detract from. Then we have three that are very close to making it on the list but just didn't quite get there. Killing of a Sacred Deer. I love The Lobster. This is another film by that director, again with Colin Farrell. It's a film in which the people talk, much like The Lobster, as though aliens interpreted what, like, maybe humans might talk to each other like. It's not normal, it's not natural, but it creates a lot of humour that I think is personally fucking hilarious, a lot of dark humour as well. It's not for everybody, and that's what's so good about it. This guy just kind of does his own thing, and it's unique and wonderful. The Big Sick was a super endearing, really lovable film. Kumail Nanjiani, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, I probably just butchered it, does a really good performance here. He's super endearing, but, you know, still a flawed character, and all of the characters in it feel realistic, as they should if it's based on a true story as well. It's really pleasant and just kind of nice to watch. It's everything that I think probably a good rom-com should be. And finally we have Thor Ragnarok, which Thor is my least favourite of the Marvel franchises by far. And then they make a third one which manages to be funnier than Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in the same year. It helps that they got the director of What We Do in the Shadows, which is another hilarious film, to do this, and he brought his comedy A-game. It was fantastic, really fun. It's just such a comic book film, so colourful, great film. And now getting into the top 10, we have at number 10, Baby Driver. Baby Driver was a slick, well-made film from Edgar Wright. Is it really a surprise at this point? The man doesn't seem to be capable of making a bad film. And he's got another great one here, but delving more into the kind of Hollywood action genre, and does it super well. It was really impressive. The timing of all of the music to the action was just so fun, made it such a joy to watch. Ansel Elgort actually has a really endearing, lovely performance as Baby. I didn't expect to actually enjoy him that much. I thought he was going to be a little too cocky and get on my nerves quite a bit, but he doesn't. He's actually just a really fun character, and he does a great job as him. The film is cheesy as hell, and it knows it, so if that's what you're up for, then just go check out another fantastic film from this director. At number 9, we have John Wick 2. I've done a whole video on how shockingly good John Wick 1 and 2 both are, so you can check that out if you want more detail. But in summary, John Wick 2 just takes what the first one did and expands its world of assassins to an insane degree that is just so unrealistic and so baffling that it's hilarious and a joy to watch. It is so goddamn good. It's such a well-made film. The action is better. There's more of it. It's quantity and quality. It's just so well done. If you didn't love the first, then you might actually like this more because it just gets right into the action with even more over-the-top scenarios set in a world that is as compelling as it is absurd. At number 8, we have Mother. I'm one of the ones who like this. I mean, clearly. It's a great film, in my opinion. Darren Aronofsky, I think, did a great job at making a film that was a dream nightmare escape. It is insane, and you might not like it, you might love it. That's the sort of film that it is, and I really respect it for being that, because even if I didn't like it, I would have respected it for being its own thing. And I don't think many people are, but there's a lot that are saying, this is terrible, it's one of the worst films ever. It's well shot, like, it looks nice, you can at least say that, but some people don't even like the acting, and I think the acting is wonderful. It's really well acted. I think that Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem give great performances, along with all of the supporting cast, which really just embrace how weird and not quite right everything is, and then that slowly but surely escalates to one of the most insane finales I've seen in any film in a long time. You just get to a point where you have no idea where it's going. You might have had some prediction at the start, and then you're like, oh no, that's not going to happen. This film doesn't give a fuck what you think. It's just what it is, and you just kind of gotta be along for the ride. And hey, if you enjoy a ride in a nightmarish, weird thing, but like an actual nightmare, not like a straight up horror film, like an actual nightmare where things are just slowly but surely more unsettling and just things aren't quite right. The way people talk, the way they act, where they are in relation to everything else, none of it quite makes sense, and it's great because of that. At number 7, we have Logan. Logan was one of the best superhero films that I've ever seen. It's such a good superhero film that it doesn't even really feel like a superhero film. It just feels like a straight up gritty drama where the protagonists just happen to have powers. Of course, that ties into the story and the plot and all that, but it doesn't feel like a typical superhero film, which is funny. It's on the complete opposite end of something like Thor Ragnarok. It's mature, it's brutal, it is everything that Wolverine should have been a long time ago, and it's finally able to be that with its R rating or 15 rating over here in the UK. It's one of the best performances that Hugh Jackman has given, along with Patrick Stewart. They just knock it out of the park for their final acts as these characters. A beautiful send-off. I couldn't have hoped for better. I cried 3 times in a superhero film. That's just how good it is. It's fantastic. And then Daphne Keane comes out of nowhere, this little girl, amazing child actor, and is fucking brutal and scary with her like tiny Wolverine powers. She's fantastic in this film, along with everybody else. The film's great. If you've not seen Logan, maybe you've not been super invested in X-Men, obviously it helps if you have been, but you don't need to see either of the previous like trashy Wolverine movies like The Origins or The Wolverine or anything like that. You can just go in, watch this, and get a damn good film. At number 6, we have Good Time, which is a fun and shocking movie that pretty much takes place over the course of one crazy night where Robert Pattinson, who does an amazing job in this film, is just kind of trying to figure out a way to get his brother out of jail. through one means or another. It's just such a desperate film, and he's just trying to figure it out as he goes along, and you really feel that you're just on this crazy ride of a night with him, and it's a lot of fun. It's pretty dark as well, but for the most part it was just super enjoyable. The acting is wonderful throughout. Robert Pattinson probably gives his best performance yet. I'm really happy that he's being able to show people what a good actor he is after Twilight, because Kristen Stewart has somehow had this career that's really taken off despite not being a good actor. So that kind of annoyed me that that Robert Pattinson just kind of got left by the wayside when he's a lot better. So if you want to support good acting and damn good filmmaking, watch Good Time. Also, one of the best soundtracks of the year out of nowhere. It's got this techno neon soundtrack that perfectly complements the great imagery that's going on in the film, and really takes over some scenes because of just how good it is. Yeah, Good Time, you might have not heard of it, but after this I sincerely hope you check it out because it is a fantastic film. Then at number 5 we have It. It surprised me. It was really good. I'm not really a huge fan of horror films, and then It just kind of took over the internet and everything, and I wasn't going to see it in cinemas because fuck that shit, I can't cope, I would have a heart attack. But watching it at home, it was actually just a lot of fun. Not too many like forced jump scares or anything, most of it was just super creepy and really well done creepiness because of the marvelous CGI and mix of that with practical effects. And then on top of that, having great child actors throughout. All of these kids do a great job here. It was really surprising how none of them were even a little weak. I thought they all had great chemistry. Really, it helps that the writing was really good and strong behind it. But they really brought it with this one and made themselves really likable. And yeah, it was such a surprise. It's really good. Watching it at home, it was just fun. It was just a fun time because a lot of the creepiness and scariness was more like, oh, ha ha ha, you know, like, but a real laugh, not a shit one. I was laughing for a lot of the film. Part of that is that the writing itself is funny, and part of it is just like, it's like, wow, okay, I didn't expect it to be that fucking creepy. Unfortunately, some of the scariness is kind of taken away from by the violins saying you need to be jump scared right now. It's like the movie is good enough on its own to do that. It didn't really need some of those sound cues. But what are you gonna do? I'm actually really looking forward to part 2 though, to chapter 2 of It, because this got me invested in the characters and even in the villain. Pennywise is so well done that he's now become even more iconic than he already was just based on the miniseries in the book, because he's just done such justice by Bill Skarsgård here. He does such a good job of being creepy. He's so creepy, but I'm like a fun guy to watch be creepy, because it's just that kind of weirdness about it that's like, nah, this isn't right, and I shouldn't be enjoying this, but I really am. At number 4 we have The Disaster Artist. Now, The Room is one of my favourite movies of all time. Legitimately, it is one of the most enjoyable movies for me to watch, mainly because it's so bad, but that still makes it one of my favourite movies. So when I heard about them making a movie based on the making of it, based on the book about the making of it, and that James Franco was going to be in it, I was kind of sold, because James Franco usually does a really great job by throwing himself into whatever character he's playing, and I wasn't disappointed. He does do a great job. I think everybody pretty much knows that by now. Sure, he doesn't look identical, because, you know, kind of hard to. Nobody looks like Tommy Wiseau, but he sounds uncannily similar. It's kind of crazy, and you really just start believing it. More so than anything though, I got the humour that I was expecting from it. It's a funny film, but I also got, as cheesy as it sounds, a lot of heart from this. There are a lot of bad films out there. There's a lot of bad ones, but very few of them look like they have the genuine effort put into them that The Room does. Tommy Wiseau is not a great actor. We all know this. He's terrible. But he puts so much effort and he's trying so hard to be a good one that, God, he just comes off as one of the most lovable kind of protagonists, even though he has this kind of creepiness and weirdness to him that is so unique to Tommy. His relationship with Greg is really interesting to follow throughout this, and yeah, I just really didn't expect to get that from this film, to get actually almost a little emotional, because yeah, he just wants so hard to be a good actor and to make a good movie, and you know, he's just like, fuck what everybody else thinks, I'm just gonna do it. Helps that he had money out of seemingly nowhere, but the message is still there, and it's still very heartwarming. At number 3, we have Get Out. Get Out, as somebody who, yet again, doesn't really like horror films, this is more of a psychological thriller anyway. If you're put off by the horror idea, or you're not a big fan of thrillers, or jump scares like me, the film has literally 3 jump scares within the space of 10 minutes, and it's so ridiculously, it's such a short amount of time that they all happen in, that it feels like that entire scene is just kind of a parody of other horror thriller films. And other than that part, the entire film is just a really well made film. Out of nowhere, Jordan Peele is just like, hey, I'm going to be a director. Oh, and on my first try, I'm going to make a fucking masterpiece, basically. I'm going to get great actors that all deliver wonderful performances. Daniel Kaluuya, in particular, I loved him as soon as I saw him in Black Mirror, and to see him get a starring role here and be getting the amount of attention he is so wonderful. The comedy in the movie is actually hilarious and doesn't detract from anything else. The movie's trying to do so much, and yet it all works. It's trying to be a horror, it's trying to be a thriller, it's trying to be a social commentary, it's trying to be a comedy, and it does all of those fantastically. And on your second viewing, you notice so many little hints here and there that, God, Jordan Peele just thought of everything. You know, he had so much foreshadowing to the events that happen in the film that you can really only notice on a second viewing, and it makes it a really satisfying second watch. The social commentary that is there is pretty obvious, but it's not really shoved in your face, and it doesn't detract from the movie overall. You can't really watch it without, you know, knowing what it's trying, the message that it's trying to send, but it never feels like it's really trying too hard with it. It just is what it is, and does such a fantastic job of basically everything. I can't wait to see what Jordan Peele does next, because if this is his first movie, what's his next one going to be? How is he going to top this? I can't wait. And at number 2 is A Silent Voice. I love this one because of the characters and the relationship between all of them, and how deep it is in terms of the characters and the characterization and the character development throughout the film. It's very well done, and it's done with a lot of subtlety, and the character animation is some of the best that you'll see in any film. Overall, the film is just stunning in every way. The soundtrack is subtle, a lot like a lot of the actual moments in it, which is nice. It's a really nice change from a lot of different anime, which is typically very melodramatic and over the top. But this just manages to be a solid drama about like depression and trying to redeem yourself, and even touches on serious topics like suicide and stuff like that. But does it all very respectfully, which I didn't expect, because most anime doesn't, I feel. A Silent Voice is absolutely amazing in every way. I have zero problems with this film. It does what it sets out to do beautifully, and you should watch it. And at number 1, it's Blade Runner. It's Blade Runner 2049. Did you think it was going to be anything else? It's Blade Runner. I literally have a video saying go watch Blade Runner 2049. It's because it's the best film of the year. That's why. It is amazing in every sense of the word. The acting, Ryan Gosling never really gives a bad performance, but goddamn, as a replicant, he is so convincing in every single scene. Harrison Ford manages to give a better performance, arguably, than he did in the original. That's amazing. Especially after seeing him in Force Awakens, I didn't think he had it in him. But he does. This is an incredible performance from Harrison Ford, arguably his just best of all time. Denis Villeneuve manages to make a sequel to a film 35 years later, and it's a cult classic. It's one that so many people love and hold dear, and then he manages to make a film that is better. What? Like, that's just kind of unheard of in terms of a sequel being that successful after such a long time, and most people, it doesn't need a sequel. Well, I think it did, because otherwise you wouldn't have this, and it is, God, it's so good. It is gorgeous. The cinematography, the use of colour, the visual effects, they all look so good. I never really saw something that was like, yeah, no, it looks really CG. No, it all looks like real, which is great because it's such a gritty, realistic world. It kind of needs the visual effects to be that good. And the budget was very high, so obviously that helped, but it didn't really get it back because nobody went to fucking see the thing. Not enough people anyway, because 2 hours 45, I gotta have my phone off for 2 hours 45 and enjoy a slow-paced masterpiece? Oh, what a disaster. If you have any patience whatsoever, you will probably love Blade Runner 2049, even if you didn't love the original, because I saw the original the first time on the same day as going to see the new one, and I liked it a lot. I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to. It still holds up very well though, but despite it only being about, I think it's 1 hour 45 minutes, it actually feels a lot slower than the 2 hour 45 minute Blade Runner 2049, which is impressive that they managed to make a longer film that felt shorter, because the pacing is just so well done. Is it slow? Yes, but it's merely because it's never in a rush to get to the next scene. It's never like, hey, okay, we need to get to the next plot point, we need to get to the next action scene, of which there aren't very many, because Denis Villeneuve understands that Blade Runner was a noir, and it should stay that way. And it still is a noir, and it delves even deeper into the whole philosophy behind humans and replicants and what it means to be a human, arguably even better than in the original. And to do that is mind-blowing, and to make such a masterpiece, and I would call it a masterpiece, it is probably one of my favourite films of all time. To do that after so long and make a sequel that so many people were doubting, like, how could it hold up to the original? How could anything hold up to the original? Well, this can. While I've seen plenty of people who don't like it because they thought it was too slow, I've never heard of somebody who loved the original who didn't like this one. And that's a testament to how good it is at getting that kind of feeling of the original, but it doesn't rely on it, and that's the most important thing. It never relies on it. It never leans on it. It always expands from it, and that's an incredible thing to be able to do. To have this perfect balance of old and new, and feel like your own film, that you're not just riding on the coattails of a cult classic. Blade Runner 2049 is incredible in every way. It's one of my favourite films of all time, and it's my favourite film of 2017. Go figure. If you want to know more about it, you can watch my Go Watch Blade Runner 2049 video. And that'll do it, I think. I hope you enjoyed my top 10 films of 2017. Let me know yours down in the comments, top 10, top 5, or just your favourite film of the year. I would really like to know, and just whatever you thought of my list, whatever you thought of this video, any feedback at all, please leave it in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but remember, the opinions are just my own. I'd love to know yours down in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.